The next session we have Radhika Viswanathan. Radhika is an executive director in the Global Employment Services Division within the tax function, catering to cross-border employment mobility aspects in immigration, social security, and tax spaces. She is also a national champion for Social Security Initiative and works closely with teams across locations. She is part of the core team participating in workshops, knowledge sharing sessions in labor codes, as well as interactions with clients, pursuits, etc. Her articles have been published in leading Indian financial dailies. She is a co-author for a chapter of Social Security in Compendium by the Chamber of Tax Consultants. Radhika is a qualified chartered accountant and a postgraduate in commerce from University of Madras. We welcome Radhika.
Thanks, Srivatsan. And we move on to the personal tax proposals in the budget. There were a lot of expectations from everybody on what changes would come about, whether there would be merely changes in the Chapter 6A part of it, or whether the tax rates and the income slabs would be calibrated. We do have changes, but all of them in the simplified tax regime. The major changes under the simplified tax regime is basically the number of slabs have been brought down from 6 to 5. If you see, one of the tax rates, which is 25%, has been cut down, and the income slabs have been widened. Earlier, we had a 2.5 lakh per income slab and a tax rate. See, for instance, it was 5 to 7.5, 7.5 to 10. Now that has been changed to 3 lakhs per income slab and a tax rate. So we have 5 income slabs and a tax rate. The maximum rate still continues at 30%. And the rebate has been moved from 5 lakhs to 7 lakhs, the income threshold for 87A rebate for resident individuals. So if you do a quick working on how this will impact people who have income of 7 lakhs, they will benefit because they will have no tax outgo going forward. Earlier, they had to pay taxes. And if you add 50,000 for standard deduction, which has now been extended to the simplified tax regime, there would be a savings of around 37,500 for people who have total income of around 7.5 lakh rupees. Now, the other major change under the simplified tax regime is that the highest surcharge rate of 37% has been taken off. So even for people who have income around above 5 crore rupees, the maximum surcharge is going to be only 25% now, which means there is a yes.
7.5 is equal across old regime and new regime. There is, in the new slab rate,
Yeah.
the deductions up to 7.5 lakhs will not be any tax. Either it is old regime.
No. 87A rebate is only in the new regime. All these changes have been brought only in the new regime. We don't have any changes in the old regime. Yeah. Even the surcharge removing the highest rate is only in the new regime.
So old regime still continues at 5 lakhs.
Yes. It still stays the same. So what happens is you have a drop of 3.74% in the tax for the highest category if you are under the new regime. That is where you will see a significant tax impact. And the other change is that they have now flipped the default option. So till now, the old regime is the default option, and if somebody wants to opt for the simplified tax regime, then you will have to exercise that option while filing the return. Now, going forward, the simplified tax regime is going to be the default option. So if you have deductions or you think the old tax regime is going to be more beneficial, then you will have to exercise that option. And then you will get covered under the old tax regime. But if you have to see which regime is going to be beneficial, then it will have to be case specific because depends on what deductions you have. Broadly, if somebody has a HRA deduction, the old regime may still prove beneficial. Because, yes.
Why they don't match both the regimes and to have one combined regime for simplicity?
That could be the way going forward, sir, because if you see when the new regime was introduced in the budget of 2020, they had said that that was an optional regime. Now they've slowly moved that to be the default regime and said if you have any benefit under the old regime, you could use that. But they've also calibrated the tax rates. So the old regime is beneficial only if you have a certain level of deductions. Otherwise, the new regime seems to be more beneficial irrespective of your income levels. And going forward, may not be surprised if we see a situation where we just have the new regime with more changes which may be proposed in the next few budgets which come in. So that is on the tax regime. Of course, the other change that we have under the simplified tax regime is the deduction for contribution to the Agnipath scheme. I've not gone into detail in that because that is only for Agniveers. Any contribution from the government to their corpus will get included as a perquisite, but they get a full deduction for that also, and their individual contribution also qualifies for deduction. There is a new section which is being introduced for that, and that deduction will be available under the new regime as well. Some of the other proposals for individual tax, one is the enhancement of the exemption limit for leave encashment. Now the present limit is 3 lakhs. That is being proposed to be increased to 25 lakhs, more than an 8-fold increase time. And the reasoning, as the finance minister had called out in her budget speech, the erstwhile limit has been set way back in 2002 when the basic salary level was at 30,000. So now that has increased substantially. So to align with the current levels, this is being increased. Another possible reason which I think could be is because of the changes which are being brought about in the new labor codes. Because under the labor codes, leave encashment will have to be calculated on wages as defined under the codes. And presently it is just basic, plus dearness allowance if you have. So if you have to compute leave encashment based on the wage definition under the codes, you will definitely see a higher number. And to give an exemption to the higher number, that would be also a reason why an enhancement is being proposed. That is only my estimate or what I am guessing it to be. Because we do have something on the labor codes which is coming through the economic survey as well, where the intent has again been called out, the update on the state rules have all been given. So we could be seeing the labor codes coming shortly. Then the other change is on, this is basically a plugging the loophole provision, which is interest on home loan is not going to be eligible for double deduction. And how it was eligible till now is, there were certain instances where if you claim a deduction under 24, it was also added as cost of acquisition. Now to plug that, they said you cannot add it as a cost of acquisition if you've only claimed a deduction, be it under section 24 or under 80 EE or EEA. If you have done that, if you've claimed a deduction, then you cannot include it under cost of acquisition. Another change which has been proposed through the budget is on insurance policies. Now this is to align with what they did 2 years back on ULIP. In budget 21, there was a provision where they said any ULIP policy where a premium is in excess of 2.5 lakhs, that will not qualify for exemption, the sum received on maturity. Now they have extended to all other life insurance policies, and they've said any policy after 1/4/2023 where you have a premium which is in excess of 5 lakh rupees, then that policy will not be exempt on receipt of maturity proceeds. There is also a catch there. It is not just one policy premium. Where you have more than one policy, it is the aggregate of premiums. And we have a detailed circular which was given in January 22 on the ULIP, where they had given a lot of examples on how this could be calculated. A similar notification could come for this because they have said computation mechanism is going to be prescribed. So we can expect a detailed notification on that as well. Another area where, again, it's more of a capping the threshold limit is on deduction from capital gains. Now, today, if you have income from capital gains and you make investment in a new residential property, then you can claim deduction for that, subject to other conditions being met. Now, they're going to cap this to 10 crore rupees. So even if your investment is in excess of 10 crore rupees, it's going to be taken only at 10 crores. You will not get a higher deduction. So any deduction from capital gains under section 54 or 54F is going to be restricted to 10 crore rupees. And the last one is on accommodation perquisite. Again, it is more of a procedural side where they are moving everything to the rules. How a accommodation perquisite is to be taxed. We are going to get new rules which are going to be prescribed where everything will be aligned. There's going to be a uniform methodology which is going to be prescribed. So that's on the personal tax space.
Yeah, quite a few questions.
Yeah, sure.
Quickly, I'll go through some of them. So ATC is not available. So ATC is not available in the new regime.
Yes.
But what about ATCs? So when all the families of ATC, NPS,
ATCCD2 is allowed.
that is 50,000.
The employer contribution.
The employer employer contribution is allowed, but the 50,000 is not allowed. Okay, and medical insurance?
No.
80C, that is also not allowed. 80G, donation? In new regime, that's also not allowed.
There are only two things which are allowed, 80CCD2 and 80JJAA.
What?
80JJAA is for corporates, where it is for additional employment.
Okay.
Nothing else under Chapter 6.
And the interest on housing loan is restricted yet to 2 lakhs?
Yes,
That's not increased.
that's not increased.
And you said that interest, if claimed, cannot be added to the cost of the property, but if it is not claimed, it can be added. And this can keep varying year after year?
Yes.
Okay. That's it. Thank you.
More than one house property to be considered as self-occupied, that's
That still continues, that's not changed.
And leave encashment is in a block of 4 years only, or it's
No, that is leave travel allowance.
only LTA, that is. Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
interest on house loan, that's 2 lakhs. So if I only have interest payment,
Yes.
so normally when I file my return, it will be treated as carry forward, which can be claimed. So that can be, whether when I sell the house, whether that can be added as a cost of acquisition?
Yes, if you have not claimed it.
So anything in excess of 2 lakhs can be adjusted at the sale proceeds when I sell the
When you
property.
sell the property, yes.
Just to that point, then if I don't claim it as a deduction, when I sell the property on that interest, can I claim indexation?
Technically, yes.
Technically, yes, right?
But we still have to see how it should be done.
Advantageous
Yeah.
is something to look at. Okay.
On a broader note, maybe I'm wrong. The government previously, as our Indian concept, we are very encouraged to make small savings and a good future. Now, the government is asking us to spend only, no savings. Maybe I'm wrong. Because no ATA, nothing, no exemption is given, no benefits are given on our future and other things. So it's more of you spend and you forget.
Yeah, it also depends on the level of savings that you get, tax savings that you get. Because if your ATC deductions are exhausted through one or two of your expenditure or investment opportunities, the other investments that you make still don't get any tax benefit.
My this thing was ATC should have been increased to a level where we have safety and security for people.
Yes.
Just there, one point, if they increase their amount you can deposit with post office from 4.5
To 9 lakhs.
right? And there the interest cost to the government is higher. Some incremental savings are allowed, but not for tax perspective. It's purely from individual investment.
No. This is for everybody. For senior citizens, the limit has been enhanced from 15 to 30. The other one is the monthly income scheme. From 4.5 to 9 if it is a single account.
But interest is higher.
Higher.
Of late, in terms of both the public provident fund as well as the NPS schemes, they removed the earlier restrictions, right? But still, looking in terms of the new regime and the old regime, still those things are much more beneficial. You are still in the old regime. Because in the new regime, nothing is, it's straight in terms of your slab is increased and you don't get any other deductions, right?
You don't get deductions, yes.
So it's more like in terms of largely the new regime will fall into new people coming into the employment rather than in terms of those who are already existing and started claiming in terms of those set of deductions, they'll still have a kind of a double thought in terms of whether to move into the new regime.
No, it again depends on what is your level of deduction.
Right.
Case to case. Because if you are exhausting just ATC, you may not be benefiting in
Exactly.
that old regime.
But there is no restriction on claiming HRA and interest on housing loan simultaneously, right?
You can do that if you have to stay at a different place on account of employment. That is permitted. Yes, that's continued.
Madam, we have expats in our company, okay. So for the expat, there is a one rule is that overall 2.5 lakhs we have to pay as a total salary if they are working in India, as per the FRR rules, okay. In this overall 2.5 lakhs, can we categorize as a basic and HRA? So if HRA is not classified, then I have to go for the new tax regime for them. If the 2.5 lakhs can be categorized as the basic salary in HRA. So that will be more beneficial for them. So for the expats, is it HRA is allowed?
HRA is allowed, provided they are under the same rules. HRA can be done. Only thing is you should not structure it for the purpose of the India assignment, or you have to align it with your other domestic employees.
No,
HRA
if
is
the
a
people
allowable.
staying in India, okay, so they may be for 3 years or 4 years contract. So till such time they may go for a house accommodation. Okay, so then we have a separate contract with the foreigner and the landlord.
HRA is allowed.
So for them, HRA is allowed.
Yes.
Okay.
There's no other change in gift which can be given like 5,000 per year.
Nothing has changed. No change. Those remain same.
The 200 rupees also continues only.
Yes.
So the section on interest subsidy for electric vehicles, that's not allowed in new regime?
No.
And education loan also not allowed, interest on education loan? I just feel, it seems like old regime is going to be more sensible for most of us.
Sorry, madam. One question. See, this 194R, which they specifically defined for the other than the employees. Actually, for employees, 194R will not be attracted, correct? But sometimes we may have to pay to some the consultants or people for about 20,000 rupees in terms of welfare benefits. Okay, so each and every employee we have to calculate 20,000 or overall how it will works.
Yes, I think it is per employee. It has to be calculated. I'm not saying CP here.
Perquisites, there is no change.
No, except that the accommodation perquisite valuation, now you have some of it in the act itself through the explanation, some of it in the rules. Now they're saying we're going to rationalize everything, move everything from the act to the rules, and we will come out with a uniform methodology. Be it government or private sector, they will come out with a uniform methodology for valuation. How it is going to come out, we have to wait and see.
Hi, ma'am.